Joel Best, University of Delaware. Most of us first encounter holidays as children, within the protected context of family, school, or organized religion. Initially, we learn to recognize holidays, because they break the everyday routine. Adults may be off work, there may be special foods, decorations, music, or celebrations. As children age, the contours of the ritual calendar become clearer. We learn that Halloween precedes Thanksgiving, and so on. Schooling fosters new meanings, so that Thanksgiving comes to be understood as related to the history of Pilgrims and New England's natives. Probably most children, or at least most middle-class, American children, first learn to see holidays as harmonious occasions characterized by particular customs or values. However, as we mature, the contentious nature of holidays becomes more apparent. Most recently, Christmas has been a subject for acrimonious debate, with critics arguing that the ambiguous sentiment season's greetings or happy holidays represent a war on Christmas. Often, there is an assumption that things have only recently changed, that the holiday customs we learned as children are centuries old, and that today's developments threaten to tarnish a sacred tradition. But this only means we have forgotten the complexities of holidays' histories. For example, most of us are unaware that the first American campaign against Christmas was fought by reformers trying to control the drunken, disorderly young men who marked the holiday in what they considered the traditional way, by carousing through the streets. In fact, many holidays have contentious histories. The American ritual calendar has been shaped by the claims of aspiring groups, often newly organized immigrants, demanding their own days. Thus, Irish immigrants celebrated St. Patrick's Day and Italian Americans Columbus Day, while Labor Day honored workers. The process continues. Martin Luther King Day African Americans is a legal holiday, while Cinco de Mayo Mexicans has gained widespread visibility, and even Gay Pride Day gets mainstream media coverage. Publicly celebrating a holiday, and having those celebrations acknowledged by the larger society, is a way of claiming an important place within America. Often, the story ends there. Each March, cities with large Irish American populations host St. Patrick's Day parades. Some people wear green or perhaps exchange cards or even gifts, and that's about it. But, as Timothy Kubel points out in this book about Columbus and Columbus Day, there is always the potential for new, contrary meanings to emerge, for what was once a matter of consensus, to become an issue of conflict. Columbus Day, and the story of Columbus's first voyage, has next to nothing to do with Christopher Columbus, of course. Rather, the moment of Columbus's arrival is understood to mark the beginning of a new era, in which Europeans began to reshape the Western Hemisphere. Certainly others had arrived earlier, but, following Columbus, knowledge of a new world across the ocean became widespread, and Europeans began to systematically investigate and exploit its possibilities. It is possible to read various meanings into the Columbus story, and Kubel explores many of the interpretations commentators have offered. For some, Columbus was important for what he was: religious Catholic, Italian, intrepid, and so on. For others, what was important was what Columbus was not. In the New Republic, for instance, some Americans were pleased to note that he was not English, thereby diminishing the strength of England's claims on North America. More recently, of course, critics have argued that Columbus was no hero, that he should be understood as a villain, the vehicle by which disease, slavery, and depression arrived in the Western Hemisphere. The city of Denver, in particular, has been marked by conflicts between Italian Americans seeking to hold a Columbus Day march, and Native Americans arguing that Columbus Day celebrates genocide. There is a tendency to find these conflicts worrisome. If we imagine that holidays and collective memory serve as a sort of cultural glue that fosters social solidarity, then shouldn't we worry when people start to forget, or fight about, how the past should be commemorated? And there is another troubling trend increasingly. The sacred meanings of holidays seem to be diminished. They are important largely as secular, prolonged weekends. In our nostalgic imagination, Americans once gathered in the town square on the 4th of July to hear patriotic speeches. Today, Independence Day is just one more day of rest, distinguished largely by the opportunity to watch fireworks. Such secular holidays are viewed in secular terms. Opponents of proposals to establish new holidays downplay the sacred meanings, and emphasize secular costs, the productivity that will be lost if workers are given yet another day off. But social meaning is always a work in progress. History consists of what we remember. Inevitably, most of what happened is forgotten, a process we might call collective amnesia. This is not necessarily a bad thing. One might argue that the places in the world long characterized by intractable conflicts, Ireland, the Balkans, the Middle East, and so on, suffer from too many conflicting collective memories, and that Americans' facility at forgetting works to their advantage. Still, history